All right, so we are going to talk about some note-taking skills. Let me get this set up, ready to go. Um, but, all right, so here are a couple strategies for taking notes in class, when you're at home, watching a video, anytime. I know notes aren't the easiest thing to understand, so hopefully this helps you. If none of these work for you, don't use them. I'm not saying this is the end all be all of taking notes, but these are a few strategies I've used, my friends have used, people that I met in college have used that work really well. Um, if you find one that works great for you, run with it. If you want to play around with it and make it your own, go for it. But hopefully this gets you going on thinking about what works best for you, and hopefully this will help you find something that sticks, and you can take with you through high school, through college, through whatever you do after this year. So the first one we're going to start with is called staircase notes. And we call it this because we have one stair, then we go down a stair, then we go down a stair, then we go down. So it keeps working its way in. This is one I have used quite a bit. So if you like this and want to chat about it, let me know. And I'm more than happy to talk to you about it because I use this one a lot. But basically you start with, you have your title, you have your date, and then you have your first topic. So that would be like the main slide, if we're going through notes in class and we're using a slideshow. So that would be like the first slide, the main title of it. Then we have a main point. A main point is going to be like the first bullet point, the big thing you need to know. Then underneath it, we have details. So this could be like statistics. This could be additional information that your teacher is saying. I have personal thought on there too. So you can put them in two different places. But if it's something that you think you're going to need to know later, if it's something that you just have a personal thought or a question about, you can either put it in a bubble off to the side in this unused space, or you can put it down below as like a sub heading. But you just keep working your way down. If a new topic comes up, that's when we go back to this bullet point and start a new stair, right? If we have a next main point, so maybe we move on to a different slide, we move on to a different big bullet point, then you might decide this is something completely separate, so I'm going to make it a new bullet. So if it's connected to the thing above it, it goes the next step down. If it is something completely separate, you go to a different bullet. So if this detail wasn't connected at all to this main point, that might be a second main point. If this detail was connected to this personal thought or this, it would go to the next bullet. It wouldn't start its own. All right, so then we have our second main point. We have details that connect to it. This new detail, I connected it to this one instead of as its own because it's specifically related to this. Right, so you just keep building these stairs and these steps down. All right, so that is staircase notes. If that just totally confused your brain, we have a different strategy called snowflake notes. So this one I got from a friend who he did this for everything. This was his strategy. It made sense to him. He loved it. When I looked at his notes, my brain exploded. It confused me so much. But he explained it to me. I can see how it works. I cannot do this one. So if this doesn't make sense to you, that's fine. Not every note-taking strategy is going to work for you. But this is what works for him. So he has his topics in the middle. Like how we had with staircases, our topics were these big ones with no bullet points next to them. With snowflake notes, your topic goes in the middle. And then your main points go off of it. So he has, let's see, 5 main points for this one. Okay. So those are going to be these big points, right? These second main points. So that is the big details underneath. So if you have a slide with a bunch of bullet points, hopefully you don't, hopefully none of your teachers do it that way, because that's a lot of information taken, right? But if you have like 5 main things, big topics, related to that, those are your first branch. Then your details come off of your main points, and then you can add tiny details underneath them. Once you have a new topic, you just start a new snowflake, and you have the main points, you have details coming off of them, you can have tiny details underneath, but they branch out like snowflake stems or snowflake arms, whatever you call them. So that is snowflake notes. Again, you have your title up top, you have your date, but then you also have this like snowflake visual. All right, questions about that? I probably can help you. It makes sense to me a little more now, but this isn't one I use a lot. Cornell notes, hopefully you've seen those in some of your classes, but this is similar to the staircase notes. How I do Cornell notes, you might do them differently. It's just the system, the setup that Cornell notes really creates for us. So we have our main points over here on the side, right? Our main topics. And then you might like draw a picture. If there's a vocab word, those things go over here. Then we have our details and our our tiny details, our specific things underneath. This is where you're taking most of those notes. And then what's special about Cornell notes is it gives you a space to have a summary. So putting 2 to 3 sentences, summing up what was on that page. So if coming back to things and summarizing them helps it stick in your brain, I would recommend doing this because it gives you an intentional space. Obviously, you can make that space on any other note-taking strategy, but it really helps you organize it and gives you that space to have that reflection and come back to things and say, okay, but what's really important, right? So that's Cornell notes, having those main points on the side, details in the middle column, and then that summary space on the bottom or reflection space. Another one we have is box notes. One of my best friends does this, and it blows my mind how crazy her notes look. But what she does is she'll put the details in boxes. So each bullet point kind of has its own little box, and then they're color-coded to the topics. So like we had with, I'll keep coming back to this one because it's the one I use the most, so it makes sense to me. But how we have these topics, that is what the colors are based on. So our first topic would be the red, and then our second topic would be the orange. Then within that, we have the details, the specifics, the personal thoughts, everything is in its own little box. So if having that like physical boundary between them and organizing them in their own little boxes helps you, go for it. She loves it. This is also really helpful for like study guides for tests. If you can have a like cheat sheet study guide with you for a test, she uses that a lot for these. And it seems to work really well, especially with math, right? Having equations in a box and having like specific little details. That works really well for her, but it's the same structure, right? Having the big topic, the subtopics, and then the tiny details in there. Just these ones are in boxes instead of stacked. All right, and the last one we're going to do is doodle notes. So if you're a very visual, artistic person, doodle notes might work really, really well. So you have boxes for different pictures, right? Different drawings you might do. And then a couple details on the side, right? Having main topic detail, tiny detail. You might have little things written next to the picture describing the picture itself. But for each topic, you might have a picture, some details. This one, you could have a couple pictures and have details for each one. This isn't saying you need to draw boxes around all of them, but if you're a visual person, drawing a picture that describes the whole thing and then having some written details next to it might be really helpful for you. And then I put this down here. This is kind of like that summary from Cornell notes, but drawing out like a specific word or a specific image that summarizes the whole thing, right? Being able to bring it all together is really, really useful. Is that all of them? No, it's not. We have one more. So that's doodle notes. Another very visual like way to think about notes is flow notes. So this is really good for like timeline things or things that work together and all connect, like events. So you have the event topic up here, then you have each detail connected and they all flow together, and then you have the summary at the end. Then you start topic 2 and you go through the flow of it, and you have details, and then another summary. And then you might start the third one and keep going. So it creates this kind of like flow visual to it, that kind of helps you visualize how it all connects. This isn't perfect for every situation, but it might be helpful if you like want to be able to see how it all flows together, hence flow notes. All right, so those are, I think, let me double check. Yes, those are just a few note-taking things. Test them out if you want to. If you hate all of them, they don't make sense to you, find what works best for you. We can always talk about it, and figure out the best method for you. But that hopefully will get you going. Hopefully you saw one of those that's like, that makes sense. I'm going to try that out. Test out a couple if you want to. This video will be available to you for however long you need it. So play around with them, find what works best for your brain, what helps you remember things the most, and hopefully this gets you going on a long-term journey of taking notes and finding what works best for you. So hope this helps. I will see you all later.